Hello, today we're going to talk about how to solve one-step equations, which is lesson 1.1 here at BHS. It is your book topic 1-2, which is combined with some other equations like two-step equations. When you're solving equations, the vocabulary that you need to know is inverse operations. And inverse operations are operations that undo each other or cancel each other out. Okay? Another way students say this is that they're opposites of each other. So if you're thinking, okay, we're going to talk about inverse operations, the opposite of adding something is dividing or subtracting something. The opposite of multiplying by something is dividing by something. And I'm going to use a fraction bar there instead of the traditional division symbol. Okay, so when we're solving equations, we have two goals. The first is to get the variable alone, so isolate the variable, and the second is to keep our scale balanced. Okay, so when you are looking at this original problem for A to solve, we need to describe what's happening in that problem. And really, I'm worried about what's happening on the same side as that variable. Okay, so what I'm going to put here is that we are adding 3 to x. Now, to undo adding 3 to x, we need to subtract 3. And when we actually go through the process of doing that, we need to remember to keep our scale balanced. So what we always tell students in Algebra 1 is let's draw a line through our equal sign. And that is going to allow us to kind of separate our work into two sides. Right now, that's the middle of our scale, so that means x plus 3 is the same as 10. Okay, that's where our balanced scale is. So we said if we're adding 3 to x, to cancel, or the inverse operation, is to subtract 3. Now, if we remember the idea of the scale, when I subtract 3 from both sides, or when I subtract 3 from the left side, it makes the scale unbalanced, so we need to also subtract 3 from the other side. So the positive 3 and the negative 3, or the plus 3 and the minus 3, cancel each other out, so we're just left with that x there. And our equal sign stays on that line, and then 10 minus 3 is 7. Let's go ahead and do that with the next one. Okay, again, when I'm looking at the description, I'm looking at the side with the variable. So in this case, the variable is actually on the right side of the equation, which tends to throw students off. So always look for that variable first. And if I were to describe what's happening, we are subtracting 4. So the opposite of subtracting 4, the inverse of subtracting 4, is adding 4. Let's go ahead and draw our line through the equal sign. And then if our inverse is adding 4, we're going to go ahead and do plus 4 here so that those cancel. But if I do plus 4 on the right side, we also have to do plus 4 on the left side. So we get 5 plus 4 is 9. And then we have a t on the left side, and then our minus 4 and plus 4 cancel. For C, it's really important to remember that if there's not a plus or minus sign between a number and a variable, this actually means multiplication. We could put a multiplication sign in between those if it helps, but you often won't see them there. So 5m means multiply m by 5. So the opposite of multiplying m by 5 is to divide m by 5. Same process, draw your line through the equal sign. And typically, I see students write this, divide by 5. I don't write it that way. I don't know many math teachers who will write it that way. I'm going to show you division is the same as a fraction to help kind of calm your nerves about fractions. So what I'm doing here by making this a fraction over 5 is I'm saying 5m divided by 5. My 5's cancel to leave me with just the m. And then 10 divided by 5 is 2. Okay, and as I just mentioned, for this last one, if I look for my variable, I have w and 2, and they look like a fraction. Don't panic, because a fraction is really just a division problem. Okay, so we divide w by 2. To undo that, we are going to multiply both sides by 2. Okay, so drawing that line through the equal sign, I'm going to do times 2 on the left side and times 2 on the right side. Do times 2 there and times 2 there. So the 2's cancel. Sometimes I'll use the dots. I usually use the dots for multiplication. So remember, multiply means this, this, and we don't use this anymore because it looks like a variable. So if I multiply by 2 on both sides, the 2's cancel on the left, and 15 times 2 is 30. Okay, so that is the process for solving one-step equations.